Hello everyone, I'm Michael from Heavyweight Boxing, and today I'm back again with another Boxing News Weekly episode. I think we're up to episode 3 now of this series, and let's kick it off with some fight results. So Adam Kownacki beats Chris Arreola via 12-round unanimous decision. A really interesting fight actually, and I think it even broke the record for the most punches thrown in a heavyweight fight, so that's very impressive. And as you can see from this photo, it was a real brawl between the two fighters. In my opinion, Kownacki was the busier fighter, but Areola was in the fight the whole 12 rounds, landing the cleaner and heavier shots, in my opinion. So it was actually a very close fight, despite what the scorecards said. The scorecards were very wide, but obviously this can be expected as Kownacki had the home crowd. I do think it was the right result, Kownacki getting the win, but yeah, very close fight. Where does this leave Kownacki now? It's difficult. He obviously did what he had to do and got the win against Areola, but this is a very old Areola, as we know, and there was a lot of talk about Kownacki, him saying that he wanted to put him away faster than Wilder did, but unfortunately he wasn't even able to knock this Areola out. That's not a huge problem. It doesn't matter if you haven't got the power, but where I really worry with him is the amount of shots he was taking, and Areola was landing with ease, in my opinion. And against these kind of top fighters that Kownacki wants to fight, like the Wilders, the Whites, and so on, you're not going to be able to take that many shots. You know, we're talking about Wilder, who only needs to land one right hand and it's lights out. And Areola was able to land like 300 punches. So slightly worrying in that sense. I think Kownacki still gives the top contenders a real fight. But I'm not sure about the kind of top 5 area. That kind of level I'm not too sure about. But nevertheless, 1+ for Kownacki. Sorry if I keep butchering that name, but one more plus I've got to say for him is he is a very entertaining fighter, and a fighter that I'm going to definitely keep following and keep tuning into his fights, because, you know, 300+ punches or something ridiculous like that being thrown, you know, is great. It's great to see from any heavyweight boxer, and that brawling kind of style, similar to Chisora. I think Kownacki-Chisora would be a great fight, by the way. But yeah, that kind of style is really interesting to see and very entertaining. So that is definitely a positive for him. But anyway, moving on from some boxing results into actual boxing news, and Gervonta Tank Davis cannot stay out of the headlines at the moment, and he has claimed that he wants the Lomachenko fight for 2020. I don't know how to really take this kind of news, because we know Tank's been calling out Loma for a while now. I don't think any of it being very serious. I think they both kind of use each other's names slightly to for their own publicity and to grow themselves a little bit. I think Loma's kind of ignoring it at this point and just focusing on his own career, because he's kind of said multiple times, if you want to fight me, I'm ready to fight, and it's just nothing's ever really materialized. Do I think this fight is going to happen in 2020? Honestly, I would probably say no. We know Tank is under Mayweather Promotions, and we know what Mayweather thinks about having that O in your record and keeping that O in your record, and he's not going to risk putting in his cash cow, his prize fighter, against a very risky opponent like Lomachenko. So honestly, I don't think this fight will happen in 2020. If it is going to happen, I reckon Tank's team will wait till Loma is probably past 35 before they consider fighting him, when his physical attributes start to deteriorate a little bit and he hasn't got the speed, etc. It's an interesting fight though, and it's one that I'd love to see for sure. It's definitely a fight which really splits the boxing community between who they think can win, Loma or Tank. If the fight ever does happen, I'd love to make a full prediction video on it. But just to touch on it now, if they were to fight in 2020, who do I think would win? And I've got to side with Lomachenko, in my opinion. I think Loma is just all round a better fighter than Tank. I don't underestimate Tank's power or speed. I know it's very impressive, but Loma has dealt with power punchers like Nicholas Walters and quick fighters like Gary Russell Jr. And I just think that there's levels to this game, and Lomachenko is just levels above Tank Davis, in my opinion. I don't think Davis has fought anyone anywhere near Lomachenko's kind of level. I think I'm not writing Tank off completely. You know, we've seen Lomachenko can be dropped. He is human. We saw him against Linares. He was dropped in, I can't remember what round it was. But so it can happen. And with Tank's power, who knows? But right now, I've got to side with Lomachenko. This may change as time goes on, but right now, if it's to happen in 2020, that is my prediction. Anyway, moving on to another man who loves being in the spotlight, and that is our favourite, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. And it's been announced and confirmed that he will fight Otto Wallin on the 14th of September. If you haven't heard of Otto Wallin, don't worry, you are not on your own. I am new to this fighter as well. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about him in this brief period. All I know right now is that he is a Swedish heavyweight prospect, and he has a nice looking record of 20 wins and 0 losses with 13 knockouts. Although the record is lovely, do not be fooled. He hasn't fought anyone of note, to be honest. Tyson Fury will be the biggest name by far on his record. It's another real circus kind of performance, isn't it, from Tyson Fury? I did a video about him potentially fighting Charles Martin, and I think Otto Wallin is probably even a worse opponent than Charles Martin. But I won't spend too much time talking about this fight. It's going to be similar to the Tom Schwartz fight. I don't even think there's even a point of trying to give an argument for an upset. It's going to be over with in 3 rounds, in my opinion. But am I disappointed? Yes. But, you know, Tyson Fury, good on him. He's obviously making a lot of money with ESPN with this fight deal to fight absolutely nobody. So if I was in his boat, I'd probably do the exact same thing. And all I really care about is him getting through this opponent and getting the Deontay Wilder rematch. So if it means we get the rematch and we've got to put up with this, then, well, that, you know, whatever. We'll deal with it. But moving on to some more news. And it's this is more of, again, kind of a joke news here. Marcus Maidana has actually called out Manny Pacquiao, saying that he will come out of retirement if he can be guaranteed a shot against Manny Pacquiao. This is a bit ludicrous. I don't see, Pacquiao is looking to the big guys right now, the Sean Porters, the Errol Spencers, etc. With the performance he's putting in recently, great win against Furman, and he's mixing it with the big dogs. I don't think he's even going to be considering fighting someone like Maidana. He's making the big bucks right now fighting these other welterweights. But if, Maidana could get out of retirement and get himself into shape, and we could see a glimpse of the old Maidana, who knows, it could be quite an interesting fight. But, really don't see that one happening. But hopefully we can see Maidana come out of retirement, even if it means he doesn't fight Pacquiao. But moving on to my last bit of news, and as you probably might have heard with Hearn, or Hearn and Billy Joe Saunders have finalised a multi-fight deal. So we know Saunders recently split with Frank Warren, and there was a lot of questions about who he might sign with, but I think everyone knew the kind of obvious one would be Eddie Hearn. I think this is a great move from Saunders, in my opinion. As we all say, you want to earn, you earn with Hearn. So, and also as well, not just with the money side, but also Saunders is quite late in his career now. He's 29. He's not late in his career, but he's in his prime now. And considering how far into his career he is, and you look at the fights he's had, there's barely any big fights on his resume. You've got the Chris Eubank fight, which was a great fight when before Eubank really kind of got exposed. And then we had the Lemieux fight where Saunders looked excellent in. But then after that, there's no real big names on the record. And if he wants to get those big names on his record at this age, the person to be with, especially for the middleweight division, has got to be Eddie Hearn. Like, if we look at just some of the fighters Eddie Hearn has right now, the Golovkin, he's got Alvarez, Jacobs, Demetrius Andrade, the list goes on. So that's if he wants to drop back down to middleweight, which in my opinion he should do. He is a middleweight. I don't know why he moved up. The big fights that he should be in are at middleweight. But nevertheless, even if he chooses to stay up at super middleweight, now he's with Eddie Hearn, it's more likely that they'll be able to make the Callum Smith fight, which I think would be a great fight. And it'd be a lot easier to make now that they're under this same promotional company. A lot of people split with that fight between Callum Smith and Saunders. Again, if it happens, I'd love to make a prediction video on that. But just to say, yeah, it's a good one. A lot of people saying Smith will just walk through. Billy Joe, because he is huge at that weight. I think he's like 6'3" or something ridiculous. And then Billy Joe is obviously the slick style, the slick style. So make a real good matchup. But I'd love to see something like the Golovkin fight. For a world title would be awesome. But there you go. That's my roundup of this week's boxing news. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.